over their concerns about teaching critical race theory in schools. Take a look.
There are certain right-wing media venues, for example, that monetize and capitalize on stoking the fear and resentment of a white population that is witnessing a changing America. You would think, with all the public policy debates that are taking place right now, that the Republican Party would be engaged in a significant debate. Lo and behold, the single most important issue to them apparently right now is critical race theory. Who knew that was the threat to our republic?
And Fox News contributor Leo Terrell calling out the former president for his rhetoric.
He's the last person on earth that should be promoting the critical race theory. Here's a man, if he's oppressed, he became president of the United States. When you promote a theory of hate that specifically targets a particular group of people, i.e. being white, that is a discussion and affects every American in this country. Who in this world oppressed President Obama? He became president.
Greg, give us your take on the Obama interview.
That was a really stupid comment by former President Obama. He's basically insulting people for actually understanding a critical curriculum. He would prefer you to be ignorant of it, to be a low information person. But all of what he should be saying, wow, I'm pretty impressed that these people know this stuff. It's and also he makes this mistake where he says, in the part of the interview, he talks about how his daughters are saying cancel culture is out of control or it's not good. And then he says CRT is harmless. He doesn't see the connection between the two. That critical race theory helps create the cancel culture by saying that everybody who isn't non-white is an oppressor and therefore must be canceled. And finally, how does he not get that education is actually way more important than anything he just talked about, whether it was climate change or anything? His priorities are all contingent on solving education, which is basically the pyramid base for everything else. I mean, if you look, we talked about crime in the A block. If you look at people that are killed by police, you can trace it almost all the way back to their education. How was their education?
It would be the root cause.
It would be the root. Thank you, Dana. The root cause.
It'll bring it back. Geraldo, what did you make of that comment that he had?
I'm not sure that the president is prospering in his post-presidency. He does. I mean, I'm not talking financially. I mean, in terms of the impact. When he comes on, he's going to be mellow and laid back and cooler than you and smarter than you. And I watch him, and it's almost like I've heard it before, even if I've never heard it before. In terms of critical race theory, though, and I think that people here and the network are too sensitive about critical race theory and not sensitive enough, to me, about the history of, if you were a black kid going to public school in the South in the 1950s, 1960s, what was your curriculum? Jefferson Davis was a great guy. Stonewall Jackson is the hero of heroes. Robert E. Lee is the next to Jesus. Contemporary society sorts these things out. Now it's all the rage. A year or two from now, you're not going to have white kids looking at each other, hating themselves. It's not, this will even out. I want us, why are we so freaked out about differences? What happened to the old concept of we're in this together,
Well, that's kind of the issue, right, Katie? We are all in this together.
Well, I'm not going to insult all of the parents in Loudoun County and Fairfax County who have been leading the charge against critical race theory, and they are a diverse group of parents who grew up with the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. saying we want to judge our kids and each other by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And they have very publicly stated that the critical race theory curriculum that they are seeing their kids come home with does the opposite of that. And it's teaching their kids and their kids of their neighbors who live on the same street as them and the kids that they play baseball with or sports with at school to hate each other based on their skin color. It's really not even about American history. It's about looking at someone in a hierarchy of skin color and saying, because you're lighter than I am or because you're white, you have oppressed me even though you've never even done that. You are a product of the sin of the people who came before you, despite having zero or anything to do with the history of the country, and it lacks a ton of context when it comes to the progress that the country has made. And so the bottom line is parents who are fighting critical race theory don't want their kids to grow up looking at their fellow peers and saying, I'm going to judge you based on your skin color and determine whether I should oppress you, you should oppress me, or whether we can move forward together as Americans. And so they're just worried about their kids growing up to hate each other as a result of the curriculum. So as usual, President Obama doesn't have all the facts on what critical race theory actually is.
Final word, Jesse?
Obama's trying to put out a fire because critical race theory is really hurting Democrats. Average moms and dads are livid about it, what they're hearing back from school. It's insidious. It's pollution of the brain, Geraldo. I want graphic, detailed
What about the stuff about
history
gender
of the
and
wars
transgender
and
and this gender
oppression.
and that?
I want it all out there for us to learn. I don't want psychological warfare on a 13-year-old who's trying to make it through the day. And that's what this is. They're trying to hurt their brain and divide the country. And people are game to it. They get it, and they've rejected it. And Obama's trying to minimize it and tell the rest of the Democrats, hey, use this line. Try this line out. Because he's trying to help them. Democrats aren't doing great right now.
You're right. It's like everybody asks, like, what can we do about the country being so polarized? Well, then the parents, I think, and in this case, like the parents are kind of stepping up on this one.